Every time I speak to young people, I begin with one simple question. Why are we here? Not why are we seated in this hall, but why are we here as young people in our countries, in Africa at this moment? Because history is clear about one thing. It is young people who change societies. Yet today, many young people no longer ask hard questions. They avoid numbers. They avoid comparisons. So let us face the numbers. In one country, 50 million people work. Together, they produce about 136 billion US dollars a year. Now, listen carefully. A single supermarket chain in the United States, Walmart, made $564 billion in 1 year. One company, more than an entire nation. This is not a joke. This is not an exaggeration. And so we must ask ourselves honestly, are we doing well? Stay with me. Because to understand the future, we must first understand this gap and why it exists. When we ask whether we are doing well, we must be honest about what we see around us. Across Africa, and especially in our countries, young people are everywhere, in meetings, in conferences, in statistics. We are told again and again that we are a young continent, that the median age is below 30, that the future belongs to us, but numbers alone do not create progress. I travel across this continent, and one thing is impossible to ignore in almost every country. You meet young Chinese men and women between 20 and 35 years old. They travel thousands of kilometers to places many local young people have never been. They are not tourists. They are preparing themselves. Meanwhile, many of our young people remain stuck, waiting for jobs, waiting for government, waiting for opportunity. This is the problem we must confront, not a lack of youth, but a lack of direction, preparation, and productive engagement. And before we talk about solutions, we must understand where the situation truly began, to understand how we arrived here. We must return to history, not as nostalgia, but as evidence. Across Africa, independence was not won by old men. It was driven by the young. Young Kenyatta, young Nyerere, young Nkrumah, young Sankara. When we read their names today, we forget their age. History makes them look old. But they were not. They were students, organizers, thinkers, young people who believed they could shape their societies. Over time, something changed. History stopped being a tool for learning and became a story to admire from a distance. Young people were taught to wait instead of act, to seek employment instead of building value, to consume instead of produce. At the same time, other societies trained their youth differently. They emphasized discipline, preparation, long-term thinking. This difference did not appear overnight. It was built slowly through systems, habits, and expectations. And once you see this shift clearly, the present situation begins to make sense. Let me bring this crisis closer to home. Recently, a government official stood up and proudly announced a number, the country's GDP at about 136 billion US dollars. It sounded impressive until you pause and ask a simple question. What does that number really mean for the people? Then comes the shock. A single supermarket chain, Walmart, made $564 billion in 1 year. Not a country, not a continent, a supermarket. That moment should disturb you because it exposes a painful truth. We are working hard, but we are not producing enough value. We are busy, but we are not competitive. And yet we still celebrate rankings. Sixth largest economy in Africa, growing population, rising numbers. But numbers without productivity are noise. If this comparison makes you uncomfortable, it should, because discomfort forces clarity. And clarity is dangerous to excuses. Stay with me. Because this crisis is not about one company or one statistic. It is about the system that shaped our economic reality. The problem is not intelligence, it is not effort, it is not even opportunity. The problem is how we are trained to think. In many of our societies, young people are raised to wait. Wait for employment, wait for government, wait for permission. Productivity is treated as an afterthought. Look at agriculture. We import food we can grow. We import eggs. Yes, eggs. Ask yourself a serious question. Did the chicken forget how to lay eggs? Or did the system fail to organize young people around production? The same pattern repeats in technology. We assemble smartphones. We do not design them. We use platforms like YouTube and Instagram. We do not control them. This is not accidental. It is the result of decisions made over time that separated young people from ownership, from creation, from value chains. And once a society loses control of production, it becomes dependent. This is the hidden mechanism behind the numbers you heard earlier. And it leads us directly to the next crisis. Now, the pressure increases. While many young people are still waiting, the world is moving fast. Banks that once employed 20 tellers now need one. Restaurants that once employed hundreds now use robots. You press a button, a machine brings your food. This is not the future, this is already happening. Artificial intelligence is not asking for permission. Automation does not care about unemployment statistics. In the next few years, entire sectors will shrink, not because people are lazy, but because technology replaces routine work. And here is the danger. A young population without creativity becomes vulnerable. A young population without skills becomes irrelevant. We are no longer competing only with our neighbors. We are competing with regions, with continents, with the world. If you are not prepared, you are not ignored, you are replaced. This is the second crisis, not lack of opportunity, but lack of readiness. And now the impact moves from systems to people. Now let me speak directly to you, because this crisis is no longer abstract. It lives in your daily life. You graduate, you search, you wait. Degrees multiply, but opportunities shrink. Banks no longer need you. Offices no longer need you. Even restaurants no longer need you. And slowly doubt enters your mind. You begin to ask the wrong questions. Who bewitched me? Who blocked my destiny? But listen carefully. You are not cursed. You are unprepared for a changing system. When you cannot feed yourself, you become dependent. When you cannot produce, you become replaceable. This is why discipline matters. This is why long-term thinking matters. This is why 10 years from now will judge the decisions you make today. If this message feels heavy, it is meant to, because comfort does not change lives. Do not wait to be saved. Prepare yourself and understand this clearly. What is happening to you is connected to what is happening to the world. This is not only a local problem, it is global. Today, you are not competing only with the person next to you. You are competing with young people across Africa, across Asia, across the world. Borders are opening, markets are merging. With the African Continental Free Trade Area, products will move from one country to another with ease. What you produce here will be sold in Senegal, in Benin, across the continent. But here is the hard truth. If you do not produce, you will only consume what others make. If you do not add value, you will remain at the bottom of the chain. Look at the world around you. China prepared its youth. South Korea prepared its youth. Once they were laughed at. Today their products dominate global markets. This did not happen by accident. It happened because young people were organized around production, discipline, and long-term vision, and the world does not wait for those who hesitate. From this point forward, there are only three possible paths. The first path is the easy one. Nothing changes. Young people continue to wait. Governments continue to talk. Technology continues to advance. In this future, unemployment grows, frustration grows, and dependency deepens. The second path is uncomfortable but realistic. Some young people adapt. They learn new skills. They enter agriculture, technology, creative industries. Progress exists, but it is uneven. A few succeed, many remain behind. Then there is the third path. A disciplined generation decides to prepare deliberately. They think in 10-year plans. They produce food. They build products. They compete globally. This is how societies change. not through speeches, but through systems built by prepared people. The future is not mysterious, it is shaped by choices made today. And those choices bring us to a final question. Let me end where responsibility truly begins. You cannot win the lottery if you never buy the ticket. And you cannot change your life if you're afraid to fail. Failure is not the enemy, inaction is. Every example you heard today proves one thing. Young people who prepare, who discipline themselves, who think long term, eventually shape history. You do not start by changing the world, you start by changing yourself. Then your village will speak of you, not with praise, but with evidence. Then your community, then your country, then the continent. This generation has no excuse. The tools are in your hands. Knowledge is available. Markets are open. What is missing is courage and discipline. Do not leave this message as entertainment. Leave it as a decision. Prepare yourself. Produce something of value. Compete beyond borders. Because the world has no patience for wasted potential. And the next chapter of this story will be written by those who act. If you want to go deeper, stay with me. This conversation is only beginning.